Everybody, this is the Pick Six podcast with Jimmy Watkins, Sam McKewon. I'm Evan Bland. We're going to finish strong today. It might be a tough start. We might be playing even a lot of the way through this podcast, but I feel like we're going to pull away late.
Clever.
Thanks.
What's the North Dakota in that analogy? I'm just curious. Are we saying that North Dakota?
Really meta right off the top.
General malaise.
General malaise.
You know,
okay.
Maybe someone I don't know. Did you guys everyone sleep okay last
It's
night?
about-
Maybe?
I mean,
No, actually, I didn't.
It's really.
Okay. So you're
No,
fighting
I
through
didn't-
some
I didn't
fatigue.
sleep
Should we
that well.
dive into that or?
It was like 90 degrees at Memorial Stadium today. We're in that it was the opposite of a meat locker. It was a heat locker, I guess. It was a hurt locker.
Clever. Yeah.
We were in there
right.
for like an hour waiting for these players to show up, and I know
Don't get me started.
they're lifting and all that, but like you're sitting there, and of course, you know I'm a little bigger than the two of you.
Is everyone
so hot?
Is everyone lifting? O'Shawn Mathis said, "Sorry guys, I was lifting." Is everyone the
Yes.
people that we never saw today? Were they lifting?
I think so.
In theory, yeah.
I have
Everybody
I have questions
lifts.
about that.
I have a mental list of Jimmy's pet peeves, and I added two
well, yeah,
strong ones
I was
today.
going off to Evan in the press box today.
One is not knowing who's going to talk before, like an hour
It's
until like
so
an hour
stupid
before.
the way we do this. It's so freaking stupid. I was talking to Sam about this. Everywhere else I've ever been, everywhere else where I know where people work, you know who's talking the day before they talk.
Yeah.
We get to the stadium, our emails say Coach Frost and select players, super fun, mystery box, woohoo! And
Well, we know Casey's always going to be one of them.
True.
Casey
Well,
is
on
consistent.
Mondays you can kind of guess.
Tuesdays
Every
is sort
other
of
day it's a
grab bag.
freaking crapshoot. We learn about 10 minutes before they come out who's going to talk, and then sometimes those guys don't even come out. It's like, actually, no, this person is quote unquote lifting weights or has class or whatever. And it's sometimes they replace that person with another person, usually not a person who would be pertinent to the story you're trying to write about, person X, the first person. But sometimes it's just nobody. And I hate that. It makes my job way harder than it needs to be.
What's your other pet peeves?
I was talking last week about how I really wanted a pumpkin cream cold brew because 'tis the season. And there was a person at the front of the line.
It's not.
It
just turned the
an
season
older
yesterday.
person. Whatever. It
Do
was
that
the
before
not
Labor
fall,
Day?
not fall. It's just whenever. Sam, we're talking about pumpkin cream cold brew season.
Sure.
That's the season it is for. And so there's an older person in the front of the line, and they're just like tapping on their phone. They want to use their Starbucks rewards apps.
Sure.
What I gathered, I'm a few people back, and they're just tapping at their phone, can't figure it out. They hand it to the cashier. The cashier's tapping at the phone, can't figure it out. Cashier pulls out their phone as if that's going to do anything, can't figure it out. I eventually just had to leave because it was getting to be about that time. I think that whoever was talking that day, we didn't know, super fun. They were going to talk at like 10:20 a.m. and it was 10:10. And do they ever come out at 10:20? Absolutely not.
No,
But
11.
in my head, the only day that they will talk at 10:20 is the day I'm not there at 10:20. So
No
I didn't
doubt about
didn't get to drink the coffee.
How was your trip to Manhattan? Most read story in like our site in the last however many weeks. Is Adrian Martinez.
Unsurprising. I think that one was as the name and the headline is going to get you part of the way there.
And to be clear, you wrote a story on Adrian Martinez
I did do
at
that.
Kansas State.
I did do that.
At this moment, I would not describe the fan base as having watched Casey Thompson for 2 games and thinking, boy, I really wish we had Adrian back.
Right.
Nevertheless, people read the heck out of that story.
Yeah,
They can't quit it.
Because that's what happens when you have a fan base like this in a quarter. He's such a unique figure in Nebraska history, in anyone's history. A guy who is the school's all-time leader in total offense. That guy usually doesn't transfer, but this guy also happens to be. I didn't dive into the numbers here, but if you just look at the records, he's probably got the worst winning percentage of any quarterback in like 60 years. Those two things don't happen at the same time. So that's what makes him such a polarizing figure. That's what made it a good idea to do the story, and that's what I think made it a layup decision. The trip to Manhattan, weirdly nostalgic. I was on the phone with one of my friends from Manhattan who also no longer lives there, and he was talking about. I was telling him like it's kind of weird. When I was here, I was kind of miserable to be here just because the preps grind is so much, and like I was so far from home, and I knew so few people, and I was just like felt like I don't know if you guys ever felt this, but like when I was coming up and before I got to a place where I felt comfortable that I could like build a platform in my career. I just felt like I had to get out all the time. Like get out. I felt that pressure all the time. Going back without any of that, just kind of enjoyed it. It's a neat town. They got good food. Went to Taco Lucha, ate the Beast burrito, as I do every time. Went to the Guilty Biscuit. That's a fun name of a place.
Is a great name.
Yeah. The people behind me were talking about the Texas's stand your ground law. I was like, yeah, we're in Kansas. And it was a good time. One slight hiccup in the trip is that one of my friends who I planned on staying with there, I deliberately waited to tell you guys this to get a live reaction, was not there. And I didn't know that until I got there. They had like a family emergency or something. So I ended up I wrote most of my story in the computer lab of the building apartment complex that I used to live in. And then I slept in the company car in the parking lot of said building. Because I only needed I didn't want to waste a hotel voucher, use the company credit card on a hotel that I was going to be in.
There's
for
only
like
one man
4
in
hours.
World-Herald history who has done that.
4 hours.
One Steve Pivovar.
You and Piv.
I don't know who that is.
Well, you should. You slept in the car.
I slept in the front seat for a little while. Then I got a little cramped. I slept in the back seat. It's the one time that I really wished I had the Escalade
Sam's face
instead
right
of
now
the sedan.
on this podcast.
But there's a silver lining
Oh,
here.
that's Jimmy all the way.
There's a silver
There's
lining
only
here.
one person here who would do that.
There's a silver lining here.
I would just drive home. It's 3 hours.
Sure.
Yeah, but it's so
You
late,
slept
Sam. It was
overnight.
like 3 a.m. by the time it was
3-hour
time to go to
drive.
bed. I know. Anyways,
So you
the
sleep
silver
upright,
lining.
or do you lay down?
Okay, all right.
The silver
All right.
lining here.
Airplane style sleep?
I've tried the passenger seat with the seat tilted back. Kept waking up. Didn't like that. Tried to go in the back seat. Just I'm too long for that back seat in the sedan. I had one of the
Yeah,
smaller
you're
guys.
stretch 4.
Stretch 4. And then I was wishing so desperately that I had the Escalade that we have, or the Explorer. The Explorer, yeah. Escalades
I
are.
wish it were.
Yeah, those are rapper cars. But it turned out that there was a brown bag in the back seat. I'm like, what? That's so weird, random brown bag. Most of these cars are empties all the time. It was a brown bag of socks that I had bought during my trip to the Big Ten Media Days for basketball last year from the shed. It was socks that have milk and cookies. The left sock is cookies. The right sock is milk. And I thought I had lost these socks, but I found them. So,
Were you wearing Ohio gear to the game, too?
no, for those.
What an amazing story.
Yeah.
There's only one you.
Yeah. So
Dang it. I wish that part
Had
would have
to-
made the story.
I had to catch up on some sleep.
Well, we need to get you a travel log anytime you go somewhere.
It's worth it.
adventure, Some adventure.
I think that'd be
happens.
worth it. We did in college do a travel log. We drove from Athens, Ohio to Buffalo to cover a basketball game. The basketball team was not good. I don't know why we did this. Buffalo beat them by like 30. Buffalo beat Arizona with DeAndre Ayton in the tournament that year, and it was just a massacre. We did a travel log, and it was awesome. Peter King shared it.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Ohio Bobcat alum Peter King. Shout
Well
out.
done. So Adrian Martinez, with a different number, it looked weird.
Yeah, it
Him
did look
having
weird.
a number 9, and he also looks like he's lost weight.
It's funny because
he
they
looks
list
smaller.
him as an inch taller and 13 pounds heavier
Yeah, he doesn't
on the
look
Kansas
it.
State website than
So he's
they did at
6'3"
the
now?
Husker. 6'3", 225. On Nebraska's website last year, he was 6'2", 213.
Yeah.
He struck me as content with his new role. I love the quote that he put out there about you just let the machine work. He didn't have to be Superman.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't need to run for 150 yards. He didn't need to put his
Well,
body
they're
on the
playing
line.
South Dakota.
Well, I understand, but that's how they.
Okay, but
that's how
Nebraska
Kansas
just played
State
North
does it.
Dakota, needed some real big plays, and South Dakota beat North Dakota the last time they
did.
played. I don't
What,
think
13-10 or something.
24-21. But I don't think that's like an apples to apples comparison, but it
That's
is
reasonable.
It is, it's a response to that comment. I just think that team he's just in so much of a better place just for having Deuce Vaughn.
He's a better place for him. I think you put the two teams on a football field, and Nebraska might win.
That's interesting. I don't feel that way.
I really do.
I don't feel that way.
Well, I just think what's interesting, you talk about how unprecedented it is. Like, it's the rare example where you actually can sort of conduct this experiment if you're a Nebraska fan. Was it Nebraska that held Adrian back, or was it Adrian that held Nebraska back?
I don't think we're going to have
and
an
not that you're
answer.
going to get a
Yeah.
conclusive,
I mean, I think the optics are going to say Adrian wins the battle. I was thinking about this because I knew I was going to get asked this on the radio or here this week. It's kind of like bizarro Belichick Brady. It's like
Yeah, a little bit.
Belichick Brady. It's like, oh, why did you win all those Super Bowls? And here it's like, oh, why can't you make a bowl game?
That's right.
Who was it? But yeah, I mean, I think Adrian's going to come out looking like the winner of that battle here, based on the data points we have.
I think that's fair. Yeah, they're in an easier league for sure.
They're in an easier league, but like Deuce Vaughn.
You think he's better than Anthony Grant?
Yeah, I do.
Do you?
I do.
As an NFL prospect?
Not as an NFL prospect.
I think he might be, incidentally. I mean, because he can catch the ball.
Sure, but he's 5'9".
Yeah, he's a Darren Sproles-like player.
Yeah.
I don't know that.
I think he's a better college football player.
I think they got a better offensive line. I think
that's part of the equation too, though.
They got a better offensive line. I think they have a better offensive identity, and defensively, I like what they do on defense. But they're gonna have games where they give up 42. But offensively, they have a very consistent. They know who they are. I think if you took K-State's offensive line and brought them up here, I think you might have something pretty interesting. Nebraska is still a work in progress, and we'll get to them in a minute. But there's so much a work in progress that one of the thing that's really jumped out to me already this season is they should have done this 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They should have done it 2 years ago, and if they had done it, it would be a different program now, because that offense is going to take time to make it work. But if they're able to win 7 this year and they come back and they run it back with a lot of the same guys next year, which I kind of think they would. Mm-hmm. Casey might move on, maybe not, I don't know. But if you run it back next year, you could be really good. And I would lean toward Anthony Grant being done after this season. I think now that I've watched him play a couple of games, I would say if he stays healthy, he's going to have 1,200 rushing yards, and there won't be anything else for him to do at Nebraska. Right. He'll just have to move on and be a 5th or 6th round pick in the NFL and move on. But a lot of those other pieces, other than Vokalike, would come back. We're going to talk about volleyball first. Well, I want to do that.
That's what we said, right? We were talking about how we're going to start with volleyball.
We're going to start with volleyball. We started with Jimmy and his socks. And sleeping in a car, in a sedan, no less.
Mm-hmm. That did turn. All right.
Like a Bonneville.
I want to come back to some of that football topic and discussion. But yes, let's talk let's be honest, the most successful sport right now at Nebraska by far, and has been for a long time, Nebraska volleyball at Creighton, number 2 Nebraska at number 17 Creighton.
Yep.
Wednesday night, almost assuredly going to break the NCAA attendance record, right, which is 14,000 and change.
They'll eventually get in the arena. It's at 5 o'clock, which is not an ideal time to stage a sporting contest in downtown Omaha, but they'll get there eventually.
Wisconsin, Florida, they're going to do their best to try to break that record in about a week.
Yeah.
But
if they have their match at 7 p.m., maybe they'll break it.
Maybe 5
p.m. I tell you, I tell the TV, you know what, TV? Take your cameras home. We're playing the game at 7. I don't care.
Right.
It's good for our deadlines, but I'm like 5 p.m., huh? FS1's going to get a big audience at dinner time.
And something John Cook likes to say a lot is about this particular matchup, and specifically is how it's a celebration of the sport at Nebraska. It's about the programs, yes, but it's also about the high school teams, the club teams that, this state on a per capita basis turns out more Division I talent than really anywhere else.
Yes.
I guess, how do you view this, Sam? Is this about the match per se? Is this about what the sport is in the state? What's this particular match all about?
It's not about what this sport is in the state, because that's been true for years. And they'll set the match record, and that's great, and everybody will, hooray and huzzah, and but it's really, they could do that again next year and the year after and the year after. Mm-hmm. The reality is volleyball's been big in the state for a long time. For me, what's interesting, there's 2 interesting storylines, one of which involves Creighton. They've never beat Nebraska. And so, what does it look like to be a really good program and yet not have done the thing that you absolutely want to do? And also represents where you want to go. Mm-hmm. So beating your rival is not only something you want to do that, but also represents what you have to do to go to the Final Four in Omaha. 1. But it's more interesting from Nebraska's angle, because to put it in these terms, the context for Nebraska volleyball every single year is the Final Four. If they win the national championship, they're going to have to play really well. And I'm not saying the national title is gravy, because they want to win the national title every time. But you get to the Final Four, and you kind of see what happens. Mm-hmm. And getting to the Final Four in Omaha means they win a natty. That's what's happened, with the exception of the time they lost to the best volleyball team in history, and Penn State in 08. So generally speaking, you get to the Final Four. So everything that Nebraska volleyball does is in the context of what everything that Alabama or Georgia or Ohio State does to get to the CFP. Everything. And so you make decisions based on what you're going to do at the end of the season, not what you're going to do at the beginning of the season. And so Nebraska, 5 matches in, has decided to bench its most talented setter. And everybody would agree that she's the most talented setter. She's 6 foot. This is Kendi Orr.
Yep.
She's got really good athletic ability, and she's got big hands, which helps, right, to kind of direct the serves, things like that. They have benched her, and they are using 2 setters, one of which is Nicklin Hames. And most people would agree that Nicklin Hames is not one of the great setters in Nebraska volleyball history. She is one of the great players in the history because of her defensive ability and her leadership and her personality.
Yep.
But you wouldn't compare her to, say, Grace Lee Sapiro.
Right.
Or you wouldn't compare her to Christy Johnson, per se. I don't know that you would. And,
Right.
and I'm not trying to knock Nicklin here because, again, if you wanted to rank the quality of interviews and the quality of people in the University of Nebraska Athletic Department, Nicklin Hames is number 1A. I'm very, very high on the list. And so she's valuable in that way. And then the other setter is a walk-on. And this is where the thing about volleyball comes into play. You're very unlikely to see another state where a walk-on setter from a bedroom, like a bedroom community, a suburb like Waverly, Class B, is good enough to be a setter for the best team in the country, second best team in the country. But in Nebraska, you get that player. Tyler Evans' younger sister. So Tyler Evans was a former Husker football player. You get that. Like, you get that player who's so good that she can walk on and then become the reason why they're doing this. And to be clear, the reason they're able to do it isn't because of Nicklin, because you need 2. You need 2 setters to run a 6-2.
Mm-hmm.
And the second setter is her. And she's so good at being able to just do it consistently the right way. She's not the most talented one, but the reason they're able to do this is because of her. And the reason that you do this is so that you can take advantage of all of the elite hitters that you have. So here's the irony. For Nebraska to be able to do this, you kind of have to have a second setter. In this circumstance, that setter is not Kendi Orr. Kendi Orr and Nicklin Hames are not similar setters. Evans and Hames are. Simultaneously, you have to have 4 5-star hitters,
Right.
which they do. And the only reason you run a 6-hitter, the main reason you do, is to take advantage of the fact that you have so many good hitters that you have to find a way to get them on the floor, and a 6-2 is how you do it. So on the back end, you have a walk-on. And on the front end, you have the number. I think Lindsey Krause was the number 1 overall player.
I believe that's right.
Maddie Kubik was number 2, maybe number 1. Allie Batenhorst was top 8. Whitney Lauenstein is 15. 5-star, 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 5-star. The reason you can do this is a walk-on because she's so good.
The other
It's just fascinating.
The other part about that is when you rotate a setter for just those 3 rotations in the back row, that leaves your 3 hitters in the front, but it also puts more pressure on your back row. You don't have as many passers. You have to defend it differently, and so that what they have in Lexi Rodriguez as well, I think, allows them to do that. If she wasn't nearly the world-class libero that she is, what they give up probably isn't worth it. So it's a really interesting kind of confluence of how the roster is put together that they're able to do the 6-2.
And the interesting thing is that last year John Cook made a conscious choice to lean on his defense. Nebraska had an incredible defense last year. The functional equivalent of a secondary that just didn't give up any deep passes. They were just lockdown corners and lockdown safeties. And they had Kiana Leakana, Nicklin Hames, who was the setter and remained in the game for every rotation and was just incredible defensively. So they had Kiana, Nicklin, Kenzie, and Lexi. They didn't win the national championship. They came very close, doing it in an unorthodox way. This is a conscious decision to emphasize offense, which was their weakness last year. And they're basically saying, look, we've got these 5-star hitters. When we run a 5-1, the setter that we would use can't get them the ball consistently enough. They worked with Nicklin for years to kind of get her to be an elite setter. I think she fell maybe just short of that. And so now they're using 2 setters to maximize what they recruited. And so they're making a choice. Kendi Orr was the number 1 overall recruit in her class. Number 2 was Lindsay Krause. Number 4 was Allie. Number 15 was Whitney. Well, you got to sit down one of the 5 stars in order to take advantage of the other 5 stars. It's a really interesting story. And the reality is, it looks like about a 3 or 4 horse race nationally. Texas is way out in front. Way out in front.
Hot start against a gauntlet
and
of a
Texas
schedule.
is not using Kayla Caffey very much. For people that might wonder, if you look at the stats, Kayla Caffey's not playing a lot.
Right.
Texas is so good, they haven't had to use her yet. Nebraska's right there, and then you've got a few other teams. But my hunch is that if they can pull this off, they're going to be one of the most dangerous offensive teams in the country. And I think they're going to sweep Creighton. I think Creighton really struggles to handle the pressure. If they were in their smaller gym in Sokol, I think it would be easier. I think it's actually harder to go to CHI for them. It's going to be a giant crowd. It's going to be half Nebraska, half Creighton. I think that'll affect them, and I think they're going to struggle. I just do.
Creighton, for what it's worth, just looking at their schedule, I mean, they beat top 25 USC in 4 sets twice. Kentucky, Iowa State, which is always a player. Mm-hmm. It's a good team. It's going to be a fun night.
They have one of the best players in the country. So they have the player that didn't go to Nebraska because Nebraska got all the 5 stars, and that's Nora Sis. So Nora Sis and Lindsay Krause are basically best friends. And they went to different schools. So Lindsay went to a different high school. She went to Scott. Nora went to Papio South, which is the superpower. And Nora was the freshman of the year, national freshman of the year. She got it in one. Lexi Rodriguez got it in the other. And Nora played a horrible match against Nebraska last year. She really struggled. I'm telling you, she was like one of her first 18, which doesn't happen in volleyball. And so for them to win, she has to have the match of her life. I mean, she just has to play great. And if she's able to hit through whatever block that they're setting up for her, then they'll have a chance. But so much rides on her ability because she's probably the best player in Creighton history, is going to end up being the best player in Creighton history, and they ask a lot of her. Nebraska has multiple Nora Sisses.
Yes, they do.
I mean, Maddie Kubik is as good as Nora Sis. I think Nora's probably been better collegiately than Allie and Lindsay, but Whitney is. Have you watched her at all?
You looking at me?
One?
Not me.
Yes.
Have you watched? That is an incredible athlete. Like, it is different to watch her come off the floor.
You're talking about Whitney?
Yeah.
Yeah, the way
it's a bounce.
The sound that she makes when she hits the ball is different.
She hits it hard, but it's the lift off the floor. That's
Sure.
unique.
Yeah,
they
very
haven't
athletic.
actually had very many athletes who have been able to lift off the floor like a pogo stick. Mm-hmm. Like it's unbelievable. And a lot of that, I think last year she was just sort of a wild hitter. But Jimmy, the way I would describe it is, I don't think she's the best player on the floor, but she's the one you'd want to watch dunk.
She brings a change of pace, right?
She's like the best. She's got an unbelievable vertical.
Like Nebraska has this long line of what you'd call physical, strong hitters, and it's just a change of pace. She's more finesse, quickness. Yes, exactly.
Oh, yeah. It's really interesting because as many great players as they've had in their history, I don't think they've had that many like her. Not
a lot of comps. That's true.
No, if you want to say who's the best athlete in their history, I don't know. I don't go back far enough to be able to be for certain, but I remember Grace Lee Sapero, and she was probably, one of the greatest ones. And obviously Sarah Pavin, but Pavin's like 6'7", and Jordan Larson is unbelievably skilled, so she could do everything. But I wouldn't describe her as the best athlete.
No.
Whitney's right up there. Hannah Worth was a great athlete. Her brother obviously was a Major League Baseball player, but this one's, I think they've got a rare opportunity there to actually have a couple of national championships right in a row, keeping all these players there, because where are they going to go? If you go to this system, you know what you guarantee? They're all going to stay, because they're all going to get a lot of shots. They're all going to get a lot of attacks.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
That'll be fun. That's going to be fun. So from that, back to Nebraska football.
Back to reality.
What does cooperation mean to you guys? That's part of one of the big storylines this week again has been what does that cooperation or collaboration look like between Mark Whipple and Scott Frost as they call plays? Is this a story to you guys? Is this a thing, or is this much ado about very little?
I think that Scott is making it a story. I think that when he comes to the microphone, it started with the creativity comments, and he's in that same press conference in Ireland used the cooperation, and I think he's used the word cooperation in every press conference since. Maybe not the Thursday one last week, but he keeps bringing it up, and I don't see the value. Why is he doing that? What is he trying to accomplish?
It's off the top of his head.
I know.
The filter's
but can he
doesn't have much of a filter.
That's an issue.
No.
And it's
who he is.
Okay, but that's not. You have to have a filter. I think, in my opinion, you have to have a filter to be. He
has to lie because we can watch it on TV and go, he's standing right behind him.
Absolutely lie.
I didn't do that.
Lying.
Why lie?
Lying is good. Lying is good.
He's
Lying to your
calling some of the
children.
plays.
Lying to your children is good. Lying to your parents is good. Lying to your fan base is good. It's good.
Dude,
here's why.
there's
video evidence that shows that he's he's looking over his shoulder and giving a thumbs up.
Is sleeping in a car good?
Hold on.
Anyway.
Hold on. Hold on. It can still be addressed. You can still strive for cooperation. You can still give the thumbs up over Mark Whipple's shoulder. You can still come to him after a game and be like, hey, I'd like to be in the loop a little bit more on this. Hey, maybe what if we tried to sprinkle in this? Whatever. You just don't have to talk to your fan base about it. Because I think if I am Mark Whipple and I have won a Super Bowl and I have turned Kenny Pickett.
Won a national title.
Yeah. Won a national title, turned Kenny Pickett into a first-round draft pick when, you watched Kenny Pickett like 3 years ago. Wasn't that guy. Wasn't close to that guy.
Right, getcha.
You have all that on your resume, and this guy's out here saying, I'd like to see a little bit. Why don't you keep me in the loop? Huh? That's me trying. That's my impersonation of Sam impersonating Frost. I've been working on that for a while.
Well done there. It sounded a little bit like a bookie.
I just think that it's really, really ill-advised for him to keep bringing this up. And I think it's definitely a story, and he is the driving force, driving reason why it is a story. He can't stop talking about it, and I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah. I think their offense is going to have to win games, Evan, and so whatever they got to do. I think that's the biggest issue, is it if you had a situation where you felt like you could put your defense out there a lot, they get a stop, you could kind of work through it, and you could, Mark will figure it out after 5 games. We'll work through it. Maybe we lose one, but we're 4-1 because our defense has got everything locked down. Then I think maybe that urgency doesn't kick in. But the reality is, Nebraska's defense is got a lot of issues. Well, they have one big issue, is that they're not very good stopping the run. And they can't get teams off the field. If you cannot get a team off the field, you have 2 choices. A, they can cut you and cut you and cut you until they score or they screw up. All while taking 9 minutes off of the clock. 1. 2, you can choose to be really aggressive, and you can try to get them behind the sticks. And in getting them behind the sticks, you force situations where they have to punt. The second one comes with risk. The first one comes with patience. And so I think where Frost is coming from is, when we get on the field, we cannot afford to screw up. We have to score. We have to be good with the ball. We have to be efficient, all those other things. And so I think he is going to look over the shoulder. He's going to be Mark Whipple's shadow, because I think the sense is we have to score. I think it informed the onside kick. He will never say that. I think he's a loyal guy to Chenander and all that. I will always think that onside kick was not solely the byproduct of wanting to finish a game, but a byproduct of 11 points is not enough.
Or wanting to make an impact on the game.
We will not.
If he's watching.
Sure, but we won't win this game if we don't score again. I think there was a sense of we're not going to hold on to this lead because of what he had seen and what he kind of sensed. And nothing that Nebraska's defense has done yet has made me think otherwise. Eric Chenander today, not up to our standard, not good enough. Well, I don't know how it's going to get better because North Dakota's offense stinks. It's not good. They averaged 24 points last year against that schedule. And there's some good teams in the FCS and the Mo Valley, but come on. That offense punted on 4th and 7. Like they were content to just be like, well, let's score 14 points and try to win. Like they were content to bleed clock. They weren't aggressive at all. And so like that if that team can score 17 on you, albeit with an interception in there, what's Oklahoma going to do? I think the thought process is we're going to have to win this game on the field with our offense. And I understand what you're saying. Like, I just don't think that's who he is. And here's the other thing, is that I don't think it's a good idea. Like, I don't think it's a good idea with somebody like him who can't help but be honest to lie. Like,
Because you don't think he'll be good at it?
Yeah, like it just won't.
I don't think it's that hard.
It won't be believable.
Just shrug it off. I don't care if it's believable. Just lie.
Z, our director of visuals, made the point that during the game, Scott Frost glasses attached, no glasses in the first half, hanging from the collar of the shirt in the second half.
It's a great observation.
Well, but my point is that like we noticed this stuff.
And a bigger play sheet, by the way. Z
Yeah,
also
and
said a bigger play sheet.
Looking over shoulders. You watch it on TV. There's an exchange between Frost and Whipple where Frost is like talking to him, and Whipple goes, "I know," and it's like you can't lie about it because it's there. And so, like, I think he's got to be honest about that. But at the end of the day, what you may actually think is leave Mark Whipple alone. Leave him alone.
But what
is
you're
that what
talking
you
about?
actually think?
No.
So you think he should be
I think
looking over his shoulder?
No, I don't think that. I just think that he doesn't need to be broadcasting
But what you mean to say
tension
is
every
he
time.
doesn't mean to. He shouldn't. He just leave him alone.
He should be more deft. He should be more careful about how he's trying to address this stuff. He should not be caught on the sideline looking over Mark Whipple's shoulder. He should not be caught on the sideline trying to explain whatever offensive concept to a man who has been doing this for 40 years.
But so ultimately,
that stuff just
trust is hard. I think he
has to relinquish some
That's exactly
control.
it. It comes down to trust.
We were talking about this. Chattel made a great point, or either made a great point, or I inspired me to think of this before. I don't know what happened, but we were just standing around waiting, and we were talking about why are we here, right? And part of the reason was that Scott gave up the play calling is because he felt he needed to focus his attention in other areas. We talked about the offensive line when Tom crashed the pod a couple weeks ago. We've talked about the special teams. He said that he spent more time with special teams during the offseason. I think what happened is he hired a really good staff. Bill Bush did a good job with the special teams. I think a lot of the assistants that are like that he's added to the staff have done a good job plugging some of the holes that were leaky last year. And now he's standing around like, what do I do?
What do I do with
like
my hands?
all this time that I thought was going to be spent on other stuff, am I superfluous in those areas now too? And it's like, well, in that situation, maybe go back to what I know. And so again, it doesn't have to be a good lie. When you're lying to your children about like where did the dog go?
Yeah, I mean that part.
Where
to me
did the
is
dog?
whatever.
Where did the dog go? He went to the farm. Is that a good lie?
Is this like part of
No.
your life philosophy?
Yeah, actually it is. But where did the dog go? To the farm. I don't believe no one who, if we were watching that, if that was a press conference, because that's what we're talking about here. If that was a press conference between child and parent,
I actually had a dog that went
no
to the
one.
farm.
No, you didn't.
Yes,
Your
I
parent- your
did.
parents
That's the
lied
thing,
to
Sam. You didn't.
I
You didn't.
took him to the farm.
Yeah,
I remember the
that
farm.
was probably a different dog.
That's
but
actually
they-
next level. That's like method acting. Like actually take the dog to the farm, then take him
Your
to the
parents,
vet.
man.
That's great.
That's impressive.
That's great parenting. We need Scott to do some version
The
of that
dog
with
was
Whipple.
only like 7. It wasn't in danger of dying.
I'm impressed.
How old were you
by-
when this happened?
Yeah.
How old were you when this
12?
Come on now. Come on.
We took the dog to a farm so we could live somewhere where
And
we
then
could
they
run
dropped you.
around.
Then they dropped you off.
Yeah,
went
we
and
all did.
got the dog back.
No, yeah, we all
and-
did. Yeah. No, but the
It doesn't have
trust
to be a
thing-
believable
lying
lie.
thing
That's
is-
my
okay,
point.
let's-
Lie,
I just want to
lie.
say, like,
Oh, you're
it's,
you gonna run for office?
we can see where Frost is
Comptroller.
coming from here, right? If your guys' job relied on me writing a good story, would you not be checking in with me quite a bit?
I would
Right?
not.
Well, and if you,
Now,
and if
now
you,
you
and
know
if-
me and well enough to know me as a boss that I do micromanage at times, but I don't
And-
micromanage in that way.
And if you wouldn't, maybe one of those reasons is because we worked together for a number of years,
Oh, yeah.
and there's a certain trust built up, right? If you just hired somebody and your job was on the line based on how well they wrote a story, I have no reason to not do that. Because you just don't have the trust. You don't know that person. You want to check in. If I can help you write a better story so I can keep my job, yeah, I'm absolutely doing that.
Right, but what if Evan has won like a Pulitzer and all these other national awards? Like Mark Whipple's resume suggests that, hey man,
Maybe my writing style is different than your
I
writing
got
style.
this. I got this.
I understand what you're saying, Jimmy. What the way that I will respond is the way Mark wants to run his offense. Mark, like I'm his buddy. The way Whipple wants to run his offense is he wants to run fast tempo. He wants to move it. He wants to throw it, then run it. He wants to get in a track meet. And I think Scott's thought process, he's mentioned it a couple times now, is that you don't win track meets in the Big Ten.
Right. He's gone through that learning curve.
You know, and let's go specifically to the play in the first half that I think torqued Frost off. First and 10 at the 37, I think it was. Well, 40. It was first and 10 at the 48 of north of Nebraska. That's where they got the ball. And I tweeted, this is a spot for a house call. Now, in reality, usually your house calls are around the opponent's 40. But I know Mark Whipple. This is what this guy wants to do. He always wants to do this. So anytime he gets on the other side of his own 40, he's pulling this. Like, he's like, let's go. And that's what he does. And so they throw it. It's a pass interference ball. Then it's first and 10, I think, at the 37, and I tweeted it again. I won't be surprised if they do it again. And they did it again, and they did it out of the same formation. They had an offset guy. They had an H-back and Borkircher. It was a pistol formation, play action. They're trying to get Oliver Martin over the top. Oliver kind of ran to the middle. There wasn't enough time. They did an unbalanced line. Teddy's on the wrong side. He gets confused. That gives up a sack. And North Dakota was kind of playing back. But this is who Mark Whipple is. He is going to keep doing it. And I think I could sense, after the game, Frost's response there is like, when we get in league play, anytime you're inside the 40-yard line, you have to be aggressive, but you have to be really careful. I'm like, in that moment, I'm tracking with Frost. I'm like, you got first and 10 at the 37. You got a running back that just ran a 19-yard touchdown. Run the ball a couple of times. Get yourself in 3rd and 4, and then make a decision. And then, oh, by the way, you've run 2.5 minutes off the clock, and your defense isn't right back out on the field. These are things that I think in the leagues that Mark Whipple has coached in, particularly the league or whatever the hell Massachusetts operation was, because they were independent and they were in league. I don't know what their story is. But they were playing basically an independent schedule where they're playing a lot of teams that throw it all over the place, and it's a track meet. And so, like, his framework and the way that the Big Ten's going to work, I thought it was one of the best comments that Scott Frost has made in his entire tenure when he said, when we get to league play, we have to be this. But he didn't even care that they just beat North Dakota. It's like, when we get in league play and we do this, this will kill us. Exactly. Now, I don't know. I don't know if that's Trev talking through him or if he's learning that. I suspect it might have come too late. These changes should have been made years ago, and they weren't. And now we're here, and he's got a defense. You almost feel for him. The defense doesn't have the horses. And then one of their top horses gets hurt. Henrich. They don't have, you look at it, I don't think they got the horses. They've had to play the safeties every snap of the game.
Yeah.
They've had to play the corners almost every snap of the game. Tommy Hill has never started a game in his life, and he's playing 70 snaps. So, and then you got Ernest Hausman, a true freshman. He's playing 60 snaps. You got guys that just walked onto campus 29 days ago playing 40 snaps. It's just not, it's not ideal. You got a walk-on starting at interior tackle. God bless him. He's 6'2", 280. He's not Aaron Donald at 6'2", 280. Like, it's tough, man. Like, you don't draw it up that way. You don't draw up a situation where it's like, and the guy that we eventually want to start came here in mid-August. He's going to have to get ready, so we're going to have him play him 34 snaps while we play a walk-on to start. And the one guy...
NFL Films presents.
You know, this thing, like, when you start to piece all that together, I'm sure Scott's like, oh, my God. We finally got the staff on the offensive side of the ball, and these guys want to go high-octane, and our defense can't handle it. Like, they can't... This isn't last year's defense where they can get you off the field. Like, it's not that. And then in the course of the game in special teams, the mistake that was almost made in the first half is one of the most remarkable, boneheaded, we don't need to name names, one of the most remarkable and boneheaded things I have ever seen. And I'm sure he was like, well, we almost did something that no one would ever do. And I can't control that. I have to try to control something. I get the thought process. I have felt those things myself. Like, are you kidding me? Really? The guy almost touched the ball after a block punt, and he literally waited to touch it until there were 5 guys around him from the other team? What are you doing?
Watching it live, I thought he was like, does Oliver Martin know about like...
It wasn't Martin.
Or, I'm sorry, who was it?
It was Wyatt Lever.
Wyatt Lever, okay. Well, we said we weren't going to name
I don't know why.
I was thinking like, is this like subsection E, lowercase a in like a rule book where I don't know a rule here? That's what, I don't know.
And then you get the thing like the squib. I'm sure Bill Bush coached the hell out of that, and they probably had a plan for it. And he kicks it right into the guy's legs. And, you can probably pop that kick up and get pretty much the same effect, but you don't do the pop-up anymore because they can fair catch the pop-up. And if you fair catch the pop-up inside the 25, you get it out to the 25. So there used to be like a pop-up play that you could do where you'd fair catch it at the 15 and it worked. You can't do it anymore. So you basically have to do either a squib or you have to be the jackass that just kicks the ball between the uprights and says you got a field goal, right? You got 2 choices there. You don't really have any other choices. And so you got to do the squib there. And, of course, it was, didn't work. And I can just imagine the frustration that he must have watching some of the things that occur. And the one thing he can control is that offense. And in my opinion, I'm almost done with the rant here. In my opinion, he actually has a quarterback now who can do all the things that he wants him to do. Like, you can bring him over to the sidelines and you can be, not only will you don't have to ask him what he saw, he will come over and give you a 2-minute soliloquy on what he saw.
That's right.
And, I'm sure that's like, well, we can just do whatever the hell we want with this guy. He can do anything. He can think of anything. He's not athletically as gifted as Adrian, but he can do all the things. So I'm sure in his own mind, he's like, finally we get all these pieces on offense. And, of course, our defense is kind of messed up. And, of course, I'm not running the offense. Can't you see that?
I can, but that's the decision you made. So you gotta let it go.
It is.
You gotta let it go. He's having trouble letting go of the offense. That's what it comes down to.
I get it.
That's what it comes down to. Sorry, dude.
The time aspect to me is really
I have
interesting.
grown more in empathy for his situation in the last...
I think you made a bunch of great points there, but at the end of the
9
day,
months.
you hired this dude to call the plays, so you got to freaking let him call the plays, man. It's not like he's doing...
agree.
I understand, maybe we get to Big Ten play, you can start to make those adjustments. North Dakota?
Yeah.
I know it wasn't going so
I'm just
hot,
saying, I think
but
Scott's actually started to figure
you
some of
think
these
they
things
can win
out,
a
and
track
maybe too
meet
late.
against North Dakota? I'm going to raise my hand. I do. They weren't on the field. They weren't on the field as much in the first half. I understand that.
That's my point.
Right.
Is that they...
Well, they did eventually.
They scored a touchdown, and then they, they had the second drive, and it was a fumble, and then they were 3 and out. They were off the field. You have to convert, and otherwise the fast tempo stuff doesn't work.
Are they going to run out of time? That's the thing that I keep going back to. Is yes, I agree. Absolutely
how
agree.
about
They
that
should have made
special
the move.
section theme, huh?
They should have made
Yeah.
Pretty
they should
good.
have made the move 2 years ago.
That was Kristen's idea.
Yeah.
But I keep thinking back
I think
to
you
what
came up with crackers, or I can't.
doesn't matter. I keep coming back to what Trev said to us and the Journal Star last offseason, which was all these moves would not afford them another 2 years.
No.
And so you're grading on this exceptionally difficult curve.
Yes.
Where everyone's still figuring it out, and you're judging it as if it's a legitimate year 5.
Let me ask you this though: if you're Trev and you see all these complicated machinations happening, do you, or at what point do you reevaluate and say, well,
How much does that factor
right.
in your
Oh, I
decision?
think it has to do with the record, though. You can't.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can't run it back if they have a losing record. It's just,
That would just be.
you can't do it.
I know the defense is bad.
I don't think the
I
defense.
still-
I'm being too harsh. I mean, Shenanier's a good play caller and all the rest. It's just anyway.
in bad shape, whatever. I would still think with the talent they have, it's still manageable, man. It's still manageable out there.
You want to go to picks? Do we have picks?
Let's do it. Do we have a list? I certainly don't.
The picks?
Yeah.
For the games?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, you got it written down. Nice.
You didn't figure out that special the
The fantasy score. Well, we'll take a break. We'll do an update after Georgia Southern. How about that?
All right. You ready?
Sam's winning by a lot. Spoiler alert.
In our picks, I am 8-4. Evan is 8-4. Jimmy is 7-5.
I was talking about fantasy, but yeah.
I know you were. For the Nebraska ones, we're now doing point spread.
spreads.
Yeah.
Alabama, Texas.
Alabama.
Alabama by a bajillion points.
South Carolina, Arkansas.
Arkansas.
Yeah, Arkansas.
I have Arkansas as well. I also had Alabama for anybody who wonders. Tennessee at Pittsburgh. Two ranked teams.
Fun.
Pittsburgh won this game
Points.
last year in Knoxville.
Points.
Probably points, yeah.
Tennessee.
Tennessee for Jimmy.
I'll
Pitt
go
should
Pitt.
have lost to West
I'll go
Virginia,
Pitt.
man.
I'm gonna go with Tennessee too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Tennessee
think-
can
I
score
think,
as much as they want. I didn't love what I saw from Pitt last week.
Washington State, Wisconsin.
Oh boy, that's fun. Is this
Wisconsin rarely plays
I know.
Power 5 teams,
well, it's just
and they don't win them.
it's a beautiful contrast of styles too.
is.
Very much so.
And they beat LSU in 2016. Other than that, they really don't do this very often, and they're not very good at it when they do.
Feels like a light version
But it's
of
at Wisconsin.
Of Oregon, Georgia a little bit. I think Wisconsin runs on them. Badgers.
Yeah, Badgers. I don't know about that. I don't know about Oregon, Georgia.
I think they're going to roll them personally. But
Wisconsin, for me too.
I
Kentucky.
just tried to bait us into picking Washington State. You see
No,
that?
he does that.
I'm just giving you the facts. Kentucky, Florida.
Ooh. It's so hard to pick against Florida after watching Anthony Richardson last week.
Okay. Florida for you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jimmy?
Florida.
If you asked me last week, I probably would have taken Kentucky, but I'm all in
Could
on
be a
this guy.
letdown, but
I'll take Florida. Arizona State, Oklahoma State. This is a good one.
Yeah.
Arizona State did lose their quarterback to LSU.
It's just been a rough
Mid-game.
offseason for Arizona State. I'll go
Yes.
Okie State.
Okay, Oklahoma State.
yep, same.
They lost a lot.
I'll take Oklahoma State. They don't have a great defense. They gave up 44 points to Central Michigan.
Max,
Here's a
baby.
tough one. Duke, Northwestern.
Oh, boy. Whew.
Bunch of smarties. I still think Northwestern. They looked more like themselves.
I don't know. I'll go Duke.
I'll take Northwestern. Baylor at BYU.
BYU's favored in this game.
They're good. Baylor is also good.
Mm-hmm.
Baylor's a top 10 team.
A lot of religious stuff happening in this game. I'll go Baylor.
Yeah. Baylor?
Baylor.
Same, Baylor.
BYU.
Wow.
I think BYU will win that game. Iowa State at Iowa.
Storm and Mormons for BYU.
See, Iowa always does this. They start slow. They make you think this is the year Iowa State's going to do it.
Yep.
I'm not buying it this time. Iowa. Every part of me says Iowa State's going to win, but that's how Iowa always does this. Hawkeyes.
I'm with Evan. Iowa.
I mean,
13-12.
yeah, I'll go Iowa State. I'll take the opportunity to
Okay.
bet against Spencer Petras every time I can.
That's fine. Missouri, Kansas State. Going back down to Manhattan for this one.
Hey,
Full house.
wouldn't hate it. Georgia Southern not going to show me much.
Old basketball rivalry.
Yeah, Tom's into it. His alma mater involved here. Give me the Fighting Adrians.
Yep, Nebraska rejects.
I'll take K-State too. Missouri's got talent. Now, whether they put it together, I don't know. Oregon State at Fresno State.
Oh, hell yeah. What a great uniform clash.
Which one?
Huh?
I like them both.
That's what I'm saying. Both. Seeing them both on the field. The red and the orange. And where is it? Is it in Corvallis?
It's in Fresno, which means it'll be
let's
117 degrees.
Let's go, man.
You would know.
That's bad.
I would know.
That's bad. But
It's the game is at 10 Central. That's how hot it is in Fresno. They cannot play the game before then because of the heat. They're playing the game when the sun goes down.
give me Fresno. Oregon State can't play defense.
They played pretty good defense last week, my friend.
I'm going to go Oregon State.
They held Boise to 17. Who'd you pick?
Oregon State.
Oregon State.
The BUs.
That's a one-game sample size. That defense is
I'm going to take Oregon State, too. Yeah.
Lakey.
And then Nebraska is a 22-point favorite. Some say 21, some say 22. We're just going to go with 22.
Okay.
Nebraska's a 22-point favorite against Georgia Southern. This gives you the option of picking Nebraska to win by 3 touchdowns or more. That's why I kind of put it at 22.
I'll take Nebraska.
Nebraska for Jimmy.
Yeah, I think they cover.
Nebraska for Evan. Georgia Southern.
Let's go.
For Sam.
Ooh.
I think Nebraska wins by 3 touchdowns.
Okay.
Clay Hilton.
So right under.
Clay
Right
Hilton,
at. Look
baby.
at you.
That's
Okay.
not why I did it. I wanted to give people the option, though, to be able to do that. Well, there we go. There's our
fun.
picks. We've got a little bit more variety this
We do.
week. Although Evan and I are very similar on a
Most
bunch
of my
our
picks where I'm
selections.
different, I'm just in the dark on most of them, so I don't feel great about that. But
Yeah, you're all over the place
I
here.
am.
I mean,
I got Duke.
you got Texas,
I don't have Texas. Don't say
kidding.
that.
you have Duke.
I do have Duke.
Duke.
In football.
Duke. They're going to be the number one team
What
in college
sport?
basketball. aren't they?
In what sport would Duke Northwestern be a good game?
Lacrosse.
That's about it.
That's what I was thinking too.
That's what I'm thinking. Or maybe
Maybe
field,
softball?
Soccer?
Field,
Does Duke have
soccer. Soccer.
Soccer. Yeah.
Yeah. Men's and women's soccer.
Yeah.
Northwestern's got a good athletic department. They do. And they have a nice facility. now,
Debate?
too. Everything's nice.
No. Softball, maybe.
Could do
I don't know.
deb-
I
we
think
could
Duke
do
has
debate.
a good softball team. Oh, I thought
Like
you
if
were
we go
saying
to
I
nine-
thought you were
if we
telling
go to-
us
best
to
if we
debate.
go to-
teams in the country last year.
If we go to 9 overtimes and they're still tied, do we just bring in, or do we have like a marching band off, or
I don't know.
A marching band off, yeah.
a
Probably
long
bring in a
long division contest?
A professor or something.
Dissertation.
If I had to pick between the two schools, I would go to Northwestern every
Duh.
week.
Yeah. Chicago's right
Every
there.
day of
Great
the week.
American city.
If we were talking about all the Power 5 schools that are academically elite, there's Northwestern, Duke, Stanford, Vanderbilt, Wake. Baylor's not elite.
I didn't know
but,
that about Wake.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Which one of those are you going to
Northwestern.
above all the others?
Northwestern. I mean, especially if I want to pick
Ahead of
the same
Stanford?
career
I'd
path.
probably go to Stanford. Yeah.
Am I picking the same career path?
Yeah.
Yeah, Northwestern.
They have a good J school. I'd go to Northwestern over all of them.
Oh yeah.
Over all of those schools. Now, if you're
For sure.
if you're starting to fold
Vanderbilt
in,
also has a good
Could be
J
my number
school.
two.
if you're starting to fold in state schools, all the Power 5 schools, I think I'm going to
Yeah.
look real hard at UCLA.
Yeah,
Sorry.
me too. Vanderbilt also has a really good J school, and Nashville is also
Or
a great
Cal,
American city.
Cal
though.
Berkeley, but UCLA, come on, that campus, oh my God, it's one of the greatest campuses you'll ever see. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Oh,
Good point. All right. Well, that'll be it for today. Georgia
That's it.
Southern
Campus
under the
Corner with
lights.
Sam.
And then next week, Oklahoma. Things getting real quick.
go.
For Jimmy, for Sam, I'm Evan. Thanks for listening.